you. Well, welcome to this TEDx event. I'd like to talk to you today about the need for change, how quality of product needs to trump over obsession with consumption, and how our out-of-control levels of consumption has led us to acceptance of obsolescence with our products. This sadly has led us to an environmental disaster. But firstly, a little bit of history is why I find myself here. I founded an apparel brand in 2003 with zero textiles experience. We set about on a mission to design truly distinctive, high-quality, customized apparel. It wasn't long before we saw many issues within our industry that we had joined. And after 2 years of training and seeing enough, we decided to change our impression slightly, or in a very big way. In 2005, we set about on a simple premise to minimize the impact our company and its products had on the environment. This started with fabric and later evolved into all parts of our supply chain. The textile industry is one of the planet's biggest polluters. There is no hiding of this. But I hope today I can give you some optimism with what positive things we are doing with our product and what exciting developments we are hoping to do in the future. Hey tech. Right. Okay, planned obsolescence has become an accepted trait of the products we consume today. Obsolescence is simply when something becomes useless. This acceptance as consumers to our products' expectations has led us to a critical and dangerous crossroads within our society. We have seen product quality, waste management, worker welfare jeopardized in the quest for cheaper prices. We now see an acceptance and a willingness of brands to produce inferior products to encourage further sales. And we as consumers are going along with it. To give you an idea of the wastefulness that we currently have and the extreme levels of consumerism, globally we produce 8 billion items of clothing a year. That's ginormous. And to make it a little bit closer to home, Hong Kong on a daily basis produces 350 tons of textiles waste. A throwaway culture with no sign of slowing down and nowhere for it to go. Although the recent opening of the Novitex facility here in Hong Kong is an exciting development and the start in the right direction, there is still a need for us to develop an infrastructure to take the positive step to a truly effective measure. The consequences on our environment are now at a critical level. We need for consumer trends to urgently change or our landfills won't last this long. So, it's all become about price. The scary story for you that when I first actually started the business, I got very excited when I was introduced to someone from one of the big brands. And he was telling me very quickly how I was doing it all wrong. Very kind of him. He said to me that I should be setting my selling price to maximize sales, then work backwards by squeezing my supply chain. For the record, at no point in this conversation did he mention quality. What he did tell me was that he said his brand set an expectation of for a single product to last just 12 washes. 12 washes, that's not even 2 weeks of use. And I said, that's crazy. He said, well, by the time they've used that garment 2, 3 weeks, maybe 4 weeks, the potential is that there's a new garment already come out and the consumer doesn't even realize the inferior product they're receiving. Wow. For me, the questions that we should be asking as consumers are, where is it made? Who is making it? How is it made? Why is it made that way? Can it be repaired? What happens when we're done with it? It actually breaks me from a brand owner's perspective that these are the questions that are very, very rarely asked. I want to be proud of the product I make. I want to better the lives of those who are making it for me. And I want my product to make a difference. And I certainly don't want my product to affect the environment. But this is very difficult when the market is driven solely by price. So, if you were to sit down with a product developer or even some brand managers, they tend to be assigned 3 very quick tasks. They will have to be fast, good, or cheap. Fast is obviously quite obvious. How quickly can we develop an idea and take it to market? How good? Pretty self-explanatory. Is it good or is it terrible? And cheap. That's the cost-sensitive of all. Is it going to be cost-effective for them to take it to market? Unfortunately, you can only choose 2 from these 3. So it's a really great rule of thumb to work by when you're buying your products as a person. So imagine, if you want a good and cheap product, there is no way that you can have it fast. If you want a good and fast product, there is no way that you can have it cheap. And if you want a fast and cheap product, there is no way it is good. So it's safe to say the current trends that we're currently leaning towards is definitely the last one, the fast and cheap. When quality is compromised, the longevity of that product is actually an impossibility. The result is the out-of-control volumes of discarded items per year. So that's the doom and gloom done, okay? But there is hope. It's this hope that motivates myself and my team on a daily basis. The desire to inspire a change and to provide a better product to the consumers. The brilliant statement from Robert Swan really sticks with me and something that drives me on a daily basis. The greatest threat to our planet is the belief that somebody else will save it. We have individual responsibilities to this planet. We may behave, the way we behave, the accountability of our actions. Some people act in big ways, some people act in small ways. But do not think that you do not have a role to play or your positive action is insignificant. As this is a need for a collective change in global attitude, I'd like to talk you through some of the steps I've taken with our supply chain and my team, as well as manufacturing, and give you some insight into the ambitions I have to try and save the planet. We design and develop products and fabrics with a very simple philosophy. We seek to only use repurposed yarns. The product must be designed with durability in mind, and then should be reusable and have the ability to be repurposed. We always look to have products that will be adaptable to a closed-loop model, allowing us to recycle or repurpose the end product back into usable yarn. We also seek best practices during our manufacturing stages, minimizing waste through manufacturing process, and the ability to recycle the byproducts out of our production. When sourcing raw materials and connecting our supply chain, we seek to minimize the carbon footprint by working with a close knit of networks of recycling factories, mills, and factories to reduce the transportation needs. We explore and embrace new techniques that are conducive to durability. We should always be open-minded and seeking new opportunities and not limit ourselves to the cost of this possible new idea. I've chosen some key areas where we truly are excelling and making a big difference that can be embraced by others as well. Materials. We use polyester. So polyester is actually no different to a plastic bottle, but don't judge me. We are actually focused on utilizing only recycled PET fabrics. These fabrics utilize repurposed plastic waste or repurposed old polyester. This has been at the core of our deliverables since 2005, and we have up to this point repurposed over 5 million plastic bottles into our fabrics. Using more recycled polyester has huge benefits. Reduces our dependency on petroleum as a raw material required to actually make the product. Diverting the PET bottles from this process reduces landfill and thus reduces soil contamination and the air and water pollution. Recycling polyester's aim is to be continuously recycled with no degradation of quality, allowing us to maximize wastage and disposal of garments. The recycled yarn allows us to generate a variation of different fabrics for us to fulfill many different functions, covering from a diverse range of sports products all the way down to fashion needs. Sublimation printing, one of the best advancements of our industry. It works exclusively with polyesters, which is brilliant. There's no need to mass produce individual block fabrics any longer, reducing waste and a need for large storage facilities. Our eco-inks are water-based, so no toxins are used. Removing the traditional old-fashioned dye methods from this process altogether, there is absolutely no negative runoff into the waterways. There is reduced MOQs, so no longer do we have to mass produce huge amounts of hundreds of thousands of items that potentially might not sell. Recycled paper is used for the printing. This is repurposed and recycled again from our facilities. And the ink which we use is taken away and the bottles are refilled. The artwork is digitally created, so this reduces our error rate as the small pre-production samples are feasible and quick and can again be repurposed back into our system. About 15% of intended fabric for clothing ends up on the cutting room floor. This weight race has been tolerated industry-wide for decades, but the laser cutter is fixing this. It doesn't need to be. With innovative software that maximizes full order production through laser cutting, the fabric wastage is significantly reduced. Production time is accelerated and less labor intensive. Production waste management is a key focus for us, and it is a key decision process in our PD stage. During production, we identify means for our wastage finding a purpose. The yarn, for example, that we overcut needs to be repurposed and sent back to the mill. Sublimation paper is recycled and reused again. The inks are refilled. This is quite a short slide because actually the amount of waste that we produce is very, very little. None of what has been outlined here is fantasy or me being a bit crazy. This is just a few of the key things that we are doing because it's our mission. This is what should be behind the thought process of all items that go to market. Product development and manufacturing should be looking ahead of cost. We all have a responsibility to demand more from our products we purchase. The consumer has the power to make these changes by looking for and supporting brand and products that are doing the right thing. So, what's next? Well, I have two big things that I have big dreams on. One's a short-term and one's a long-term dream. My long-term goal, given advances in technology, I believe through automated supply chain, reduce our wastage and deliver our product quality to the consumer wants, utilizing many of the more environmentally driven initiative ideas I've outlined. Imagine the ability to connect things through technology. Anyone who knows me thinks this is quite an ironic slide because I hate tech, but imagine the ability to go online and actually develop something that you want. Not the mass-produced items over here, something that is truly unique to you. So you can go online, you can choose the cut, you can choose your fabric, you can choose the color, you can choose your design. This is then submitted, paid for online, and sent down to the factory, in which, using laser cutting facilities, you can laser cut a pattern that is suited to you. Sublimation process allows you to choose your design and is your unique item. Skilled workers who have been upskilled, who can finish a complete garment, not someone who spends days and days sewing a single button or finishing a hem, but a skilled worker. So we're upskilling workers to fulfill this goal. It's packaged and then dispatched, in 3 to 7 days. There's no reason why, in the future, we should not be able to receive garments that are 100% customized for you, and thus reducing huge amounts of wastage. My short-term goal, and the one that I get super excited about, is the ability to close the loop, or a circular economy. So many of you may have already heard this. It's not my idea, but it's the one that I really want us to be on board with. This has become a reality by our waste management. We repurpose our wastage into fabrics and paper, but we want to do a lot more with it. And we are currently piloting a scheme with schools in China in one of our production areas. A little bit of the story behind it is that we can now take the waste from schools, so the polyesters or even the plastic bottles that we use on a daily basis, which not many of these green schools now have, unfortunately. But the actual polyesters that they do use, there is no reason once uniforms have been used, they cannot be returned and repurposed back into yarn. So our goal is to actually receive the yarn, the old fabrics back, take them to our recycling plant, break them down, re-yarn them back into fresh fabrics, and we actually produce their school uniforms through their own waste, which is pretty exciting. If you want to make it more local to Hong Kong, imagine the IFC building, the amount of plastic waste that occurs in that building alone. If we had the ability and the infrastructure to collect the plastic waste and even textile waste in that building, every possible need that they would have through their premium products, their event apparel, etc., could all be repurposed through their own very waste in that building. What makes this really exciting for me is the fact that we're already realizing this dream, and the possibility of us making this reality in Hong Kong is there. It's happening in China, and the sooner that we get on board with legislation from government, etc., then we can see this happen in our own city. What I hope has been heard today, and I've had to power through it, is that you recognize as individuals you can make a very positive step. The environment is in desperate need for a collective effort. There are means to make products that are doing really positive things. Good things are happening. If a couple of rugby guys can make these steps, and I think anyone possibly can, I ask you though, you have to ask questions. You have to go to the brands that you use and ask where it's made, how's it being made, why is it being made, and what are you going to do with it when you're finished? And expect more from that product. I hope I've given you food for thought about the textiles industry, and the optimism that I see, I hope I passed it forward.